What if a single live stream, just a few minutes of unscripted speech, could potentially shift the balance of trust between government, law enforcement, and the public? Because that is exactly what is now being discussed after a viral Facebook Live allegedly involving South Africa's sports minister Gayton McKenzie, where statements attributed to him have triggered a wave of political tension, legal scrutiny, and public outrage. In that broadcast, claims surfaced that touch on threats against senior political figures, alleged warnings about coalition instability, and even deeply controversial references to past associations with individuals linked to criminal networks. If even a fraction of these claims are accurate, they raise serious questions about security, accountability, and the integrity of public office. But here's where things immediately get complicated. Not everything circulating online has been independently verified, and multiple parts of the story remain under dispute. Still, the conversation it has sparked is real, and it is growing louder by the hour. Before we break it all down, if you follow political developments, corruption investigations, and power struggles inside government, this is the kind of story that moves fast and often gets buried just as quickly. Subscribe and stay updated, because what unfolds next may reshape how this entire situation is understood. Now, to understand why this moment has become so explosive, we need to step back. Gayton McKenzie is a prominent South African political figure who currently serves in cabinet. Over the years, he has built a public image as a controversial but outspoken leader, often unafraid of direct language and confrontation. His political journey has included business ventures, public speaking, and shifting alliances that have kept him in the spotlight. On the other side, you have key political figures such as Jordan Hill-Lewis, the Democratic Alliance's federal leadership structure, and Johannesburg Mayor Dada Marero from the ANC, all operating within a fragile government of national unity environment where cooperation between parties is already under strain. It is within this politically sensitive environment that the alleged Facebook Live took place. According to widely shared clips and social media commentary, McKenzie is said to have made remarks that included direct criticism and warnings toward opposition leaders, suggestions of strained coalition relationships, and references to personal security concerns. Some interpretations of the video also claim he spoke about survival from past assassination threats and alleged assistance from individuals linked to Cape Town's criminal underworld. However, it is important to stress again that these interpretations are part of ongoing public debate and have not been conclusively confirmed by independent investigation. But here's where things start to escalate. The controversy did not remain online. Shortly after the video began circulating, political parties and civil society groups reportedly began reacting strongly. Opposition figures raised concerns about whether a sitting minister should be making such statements publicly, especially if they involve allegations of intimidation, internal government instability, or references to criminal networks. And this is where the timeline becomes crucial. The first major moment begins with the alleged Facebook Live itself. In real time, viewers claim they witnessed an unscripted broadcast where McKenzie appeared emotionally charged, addressing political tensions within the government of national unity. During this period, he is said to have made comments interpreted as warnings directed at opposition leadership. Within hours, clips of the live stream were being reposted across multiple platforms, stripped of context and reshared with increasingly dramatic captions. This is often where political narratives begin to diverge from verified fact, and it becomes difficult to separate original statements from online amplification. The second turning point came when political representatives reportedly began responding publicly. Action SA MP Darylene James is said to have filed or announced criminal complaints related to alleged intimidation, although the exact legal framing and status of those complaints remain subject to confirmation through official police or court records. Then came the third wave. Media outlets and political commentators began dissecting the claims made in the video. Some focused on alleged references to past criminal figures and survival from assassination attempts, while others concentrated on governance concerns such as cabinet confidentiality and ministerial conduct. But here's where things take a more uncertain turn. Different versions of the video circulate online, and not all clips match. Some appear shortened, others edited, and some lack full context. This raises a major question: what exactly was said, in full, and in what tone or context? That question remains unanswered publicly. At the same time, additional allegations began surfacing online, including claims related to government vehicles, security arrangements, and potential misuse of state resources. These claims, however, are still largely part of public discourse rather than proven findings, and no final legal determinations have been made available. And this is the part few people are talking about. Even if every allegation were eventually disproven, the damage caused by perception alone can still be significant in politics. Once trust is questioned, every statement becomes evidence, and every silence becomes suspicion. Now, let's look at the hidden angles that are driving this story further. One of the biggest unanswered questions is whether the live stream was a moment of emotional frustration, a calculated political message, or something in between. Political communication experts often point out that unscripted broadcasts can create irreversible narratives in seconds, especially when dealing with sensitive topics like crime, corruption, or security threats. Another question involves the alleged references to criminal networks. If such statements were made, what was the intent behind mentioning them publicly? Was it warning, accusation, or personal reflection? And if they were not made in the way they are being interpreted, why have the clips spread so widely without official clarification? There is also the question of institutional response. When allegations involve a sitting minister, what is the threshold for formal investigation, and how quickly should government or parliament respond to prevent misinformation from filling the gap? But here's where things become even more politically sensitive. South Africa has a long history of public officials facing allegations tied to corruption, criminal associations, or misuse of power, many of which have taken years to resolve through commissions, courts, or parliamentary inquiries. This historical context means that public reaction is often immediate and intense, even before facts are fully established. Economically and socially, stories like this can have wider implications. Investor confidence, public trust in institutions, and political stability are all influenced by perceptions of governance integrity. Even unproven allegations can affect how both citizens and international observers view the strength of political systems. Communities, meanwhile, are often left caught between competing narratives. Some see the situation as politically motivated attacks. Others view it as evidence of deeper systemic issues. And many are simply unsure what to believe due to conflicting information. Public reaction online has been divided. On social media, some users express outrage and demand accountability, calling for investigations and resignations if claims are verified. Others defend McKenzie, arguing that political statements are being taken out of context or exaggerated for political gain. Meanwhile, commentators and analysts continue to debate what is real, what is interpreted, and what may have been distorted through repetition. Traditional media coverage has been cautious in some cases, often emphasizing that certain claims remain unverified while still acknowledging the seriousness of the public reaction. This balance between reporting public concern and avoiding misinformation has become increasingly difficult in fast-moving political stories like this. But what happens next is where the situation becomes even more important. If formal complaints have indeed been filed, law enforcement agencies may need to determine whether any statements meet the threshold for criminal investigation. Parliament, through its oversight mechanisms, could also examine whether conduct by any public official breaches ethical or constitutional standards. At the same time, political parties within the government of national unity may face internal pressure to clarify positions, manage
somebody but you don't believe them,
and prevent further escalation of tensions. However, it is equally possible that investigations, if launched, take time and that public debate continues long before any official findings are released. And this is the critical uncertainty. In many political cases, the gap between public perception and legal conclusion can stretch for months or even years. During that time, narratives often harden, regardless of eventual outcomes. So the real question is not just what was said in a viral live stream, but what institutions do when viral claims collide with political reality. Because once trust in leadership is questioned at this level, restoring it becomes far more difficult than the initial controversy itself. And as this situation continues to unfold, one thing is certain. Every news
You heard
statement,
about the issue
clarification,
that's happening in
or
Jos
leaked
that is
clip
now
will be
making people
examined
fight
under
like that.
intense public
I was
scrutiny.
told
What
a
remains
month ago
unclear
about this
is
issue
whether
of
this
Gaza.
becomes another short-lived political storm
Press Uganda
or the
removed
beginning
Gaza,
of
and I
a
said,
much deeper
let
investigation into
me
power,
wait. I'm not
accountability,
going to do that.
and the limits of political speech in South
People
Africa
can talk
today.
stories.
So the question now
The
shifts
truth
to
must
you.
come out.
When politicians speak
If the
freely
cops
on live
charge him, there's
platforms,
something else.
where
I
should the
will then
line be
remove
drawn
him
between
if he's charged.
transparency,
But that still
accountability,
doesn't mean
and
he's guilty.
responsibility? And more importantly, in an environment already filled with political tension, can truth keep pace with viral information? Because in stories
I
like this,
called
the
Bezos
final version
family.
is
I said,
rarely the
we're going
first
to
one
remove
people
Bezos,
see.
but